Hey, Spirit Island fans, Matt here on the Discord. It's the 5th anniversary of the Spirit Island Discord, so we're running a giant raid boss challenge where we're trying to have every single spirit combination, both aspects and spirits, play with each other. So there's a giant spreadsheet. You can go to the Spirit Island Discord if you want to check it out. I'll make sure that there's a link in the description of this video, and you can see which spirits have been played, which ones haven't. I went through, found the first pair that I saw that hadn't, Eyes and Foreboding. I don't usually play Foreboding Shadows, so I think this should be interesting. I do kind of like the spirit. I like the fact that it gives you a little bit of fear, some extra ability to push things. The extra range is potentially kind of nice. It is a generally neat effect. And a thing that I really like is that it pairs well with Eyes, which is also a fear spirit. We're going to go against Prussia and see what happens. Let's get into it. Okay, we have jungle and wetland. So some of this is great, and some of this is not so great. So one big problem that I'm seeing right away is that Shadows' board is sort of all over the place. Um, in that, this presence is very far off into the corner, and the other presence is nowhere, not a sacred site nearby. So, yeah, we're kind of in like a weird position. Let's do Eyes first, which is the spirit that I play a little bit more of. And so we are generally going to want to solve 3 of our lands and probably let one of them blight. And there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So we have some tools that are good. Right off the bat, Mysterious Abductions kills an explorer. That could solve either the 5 or the 7 land. We also have Eerie Noises and Moving Trees, which gives us Push, Explorer, and Town. So that could solve either of those lands once they're sort of ready. We also have Boon of Watchful Guardian, which you can use to defend 8 in a land where you have presence. I'm looking at this 3, which has a high odds of back-to-back. There's a 40% chance we draw either a coast or a wetland next, and that would be a very painful back-to-back if we allow this to blight. So I love the idea of using Boon of Watchful Guarding there. And then we have our innate defend, which we're probably going to be able to defend for 2, so that can solve either the 5 or 7. So right off the bat, I'm sort of looking at these and thinking, letting the 2 go and solving these 3. We have a couple options. I am going to go 2 energy to start, which puts us in like a pretty comfortable energy place. We're only going to play 1 card. And the logic behind this is that it gives us a little bit more energy in case we need to Boon of Watchful Guarding for the extra. We'll just be in a comfortable position all game. And there's no way that we can play both Mysterious Abductions and Eerie Noises and Moving Trees. And doing both of those is, we just don't have the energy to be able to do that on turn 1. And those would be the only things that could clean solve more lands than what we're doing. Now let's look over to Shadows. And so I generally tend to G3 to gain a little bit of energy so that we can afford to play some of the more expensive cards in our hand. Dahan taking no damage from Ravaging Invaders this turn. I'm looking at this Inland 8 jungle as a potential good thing for that next turn. Crops Wither and Fade replaces a town with an Explorer. That's kind of nice. That can be combined with Stretch Out Coils of Foreboding Dread. The way this power works is that after an action generates fear, you can push up to an explorer per fear or a town per 2 fear. So we could, for instance, use Crops Wither and Fade on a land that has the innate active, and that would enable us to push everything out. That's kind of nice. Mantle of Dread is also quite good in that it allows us to just push an explorer town out. So the way I'm seeing it is we could solve the 8 with Concealing Shadows, and then the 4 and the 1 with Mantle of Dread and Favors Called Due. And then Mantle of Dread and Crops Wither and Fade. And then we're potentially kind of letting this 4 go. We also will get 1 innate. Darkness Swallows the Unwary could then be used to just, gather this town out, or this explorer out, so we solve it. So let's go ahead and go up to 2 card plays. I think I'm going to create a second Sacred Site. And I'm looking at these two, which will let us, we gather the explorer out. We can also just use, okay. So I think I want to actually place my presence a little bit different, and let me explain why. Instead of creating a sacred site, we put our presence here, and then we can, ooh, let's do this slightly differently. We're going to crossboard our presence over to here. And the reason for this is that Eyes Innate requires a sacred site within range 1, and we don't have a sacred site within range 1, but we do have one here. So this land is going to get Mantle of Dreaded, which will allow us to push an explorer or town out, and we can push it into any adjacent land. And then this land we can solve next turn with the Eyes Innate. Okay. So we can gather an explorer to immediately just pull this out. And then here we can just push this using the fear that's generated off of the power into here. Consolidate all our problems. If we get our Wetlands back to back, we'll figure out what to do later. And then we're going to Mysterious Abductions to pop that Explorer. And we do get the Wetlands back to back. Don't love that. And let's go ahead and put it here. Okay. And now we can then Mantle of Dread here to push an Explorer out and then a town out. And then we don't have a good target for Crops Wither and Fade, but it is just Free Fear. Okay. Now this land will solve itself, so we check that. This land we're going to solve with Boon of Watchful Guarding. This land is going to get the Defend from the Innate. And then this land is solved, but we would like to find a way to push the Explorer out. So let's go ahead and grab a power card for Eyes. And we have some good options. I like Defend on Eyes because it lets you pull in Dahan. That's always great. And then we will place a presence. Let's go just a little bit of crossboarding out. Actually, let me place that presence a little bit different. I think it might be useful to have presence here, given that we're kind of building it up. And we can also use Eerie Noises and Moving Trees to solve this land in the slow phase. And then this defends there, and we have our defense for this. And then next turn, we're also going to have enough to grab our good defend. We'll be in a good position. We can defend Carapace land this when it goes. And now over here, I think we want to gain a power card because we have no good use for Concealing Shadows at the moment. Favors Called Due, though, we could use fairly effectively because we know what's coming up next. But let's gain a power card. Confounding Mists is nice. Guarding Serpents, both of these defends are useful because we're going to be able to relocate Dahan into lands that are about to come up using Favors Called Due. Blight removal tends to be a little bit slow. I'm going to pick Guardian Serpents is worse because it requires Sacred Sites, even though it's a little bit of a better element. So I'm going to go Confounding Mists. That doesn't get immediate value, though, because it's not enough to solve this land. So maybe we do instead want to just grab, like, Cycles of Time and Tide to create more Dahan, and then we'll just forget it next turn. I don't hate that. We're playing Favors Called Due, so if we play something that has an air element, we will get a better use of... actually, it doesn't matter too much. And we would like to have more fire, because that's where we're currently short, but we don't have anything that's going to get us fire. I think Cycles of Time and Tide is fine, and we're probably just going to forget it off the bat. We want to play 2 cards. We only have 1 energy, so we need to go up to 1 extra presence. Let's go ahead and create that sacred site there. And this is this gets us the ability to push things per fear generated. So we can use this here so that when stuff is destroyed by the Ravage, it gets pushed out. Okay. So we'll use this to self-target to defend for 8 and gather in a Dahan. And then Mischief and Sabotage, we're going to pull in this Dahan. Cycles of Time and Tide, we're going to use to add an extra Dahan into the world. And then I think we do place this here because we're going to get a city destroy, and so we can just push the town out immediately. Okay, Vision's out of time. Lose an energy and replace your most expensive non-unique power card. I don't really like that for Eyes, because I quite like Carapace Land, which is my only non-unique power card. The other option is to add an Omen token to the land with the most invaders, which is unfortunately this land, and we do not want an Omen token there. So I think this is an easy choice for Shadows because it doesn't have an energy to lose, and it doesn't have any non-uniques in hand or discard. So let Warning Waft, and just nothing happens. We are getting a little beast damage, so conveniently this is not going to build, which is nice, that we had planned to use one of Eyes' powers to solve it. I really don't like putting the Omen token there because I am worried about this is going to be ravaging for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 next turn. And there's just, short of reclaiming, we have no real ability to defend for enough there. So I think we do need to just unfortunately forget Carapace Land. Call to Isolation, though, is a good card. Shadow of the Burning Forest is very on element for us. Veil of the Night's Hunt. We love Dahan powers. I like Shadows of the Burning Forest. Dahan damage. And a little Dahan defense. In lands with Town City and no Dahan, Ravage actions do +1. I don't think that causes anything to blight that wouldn't otherwise. And we can push the town out. I don't know where. Normally I would consolidate problems, but that land's blighted, and it has a 50% chance of coming up again, either with a coastal land or a jungle. Let's just pop it into here. Kill that town. Okay. And now we have to add a town to a land without a town. And we get sands. Okay. So Eerie Noises, we're going to be able to defend this just using our innate. So that's fine. So let's do the shadow stuff because it's a little bit easier. Let's gather in 4 Dahan. And we're going to use the Concealing Shadows, which will let us protect all those Dahan. So we will, take a Blight and a Blight Cascade. So we'll get 2 net Blight, but we'll be able to clean out most of it. So I think that's a fine risk to take. And then this land is already solved. This land is easily defended. So we're just looking at these 2 sands as our potential problem lands. And we can push an Explorer or Town. So I like the idea of pushing this stuff out. And I'm going to push it into the jungle just because we have a better presence there. So it's a little bit easier to defend if we need to using our big hulking defend card. And now for green, I think we're going to want to go up to 3 card plays, even though we're not going to be able to fully play our hand. We will get... okay, we could either go up to 3 card plays or 3 energy. If we go up to 3 energy, we get the benefit of having an extra plant. So we will do a little bit more fear, and we have a defend 4 instead of a defend 2 that more cleanly covers that. That's not that big of a deal in my eyes, though. I would rather have 3 card plays for next turn. And let's go ahead and increase our sacred site coverage a little bit. So now everything that is on I's board has within range 1 sacred site coverage, and a good chunk of this board as well. Okay. Now for shadows, we can reclaim if we want, but since we're probably only going to have 2 problem lands, this isn't the worst time in my eyes to like try and scale a little bit better and go up to 3 card plays even though we're underplaying. That way we can reclaim onto 3. And we get, frankly, a pretty nice draw. Drift Down into Slumber will be useful next turn, which is good. Lance of Haunts and Ember we could use to push both towns out of here, though we would destroy a presence. I like Portents of... Lance of Haunts and Ember is also perfect elements. So this would let us, because it's fire and moon, it lets us pull the Explorer out of here. I like that even if we decide we don't want to use it. And so we're going to have our right innate range ignore active, which means we don't need to have a presence in there. So let's start putting our presence into other places. I don't hate just popping another sacred site there. Okay. Great. First one, defend 2 in there. That land is clean. We don't need to gather any Dahan. We are going to use our range ignore here and concealing shadows. And I don't think want to actually push anything out of here because there's no way that we like draw into enough defend. So this will be we're counterattacking for 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually, it wouldn't be the worst thing to push some explorers out just so that we don't have to think about them. We only have our first fear card, but we are going to start generating fear quickly. Let's gather in this explorer so that nothing builds there. And do we want to land of Haunts and Embers here? I kind of like it to stop the city from being created. It will give us another fear card as well. This is like a very easy to see other people making this decision differently. I'm going to play risky though, because this is Prussia and like fear maxing is generally good. If we push a town into here, this will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is not an easy number for us to defend. Anything up to 8 is good. So I think we can push 1 town into here and 1 town into there. Okay. On the single board with the most towns or cities, add 1 town per player. Sure. Let's just go into there and into there. Add a beast to the sands with the most invaders, 1 fear if they're present. Great. Defend 1 + 1 per adjacent Dahan. Remove an explorer or town from a land with a beast. Stopping that build feels good. Okay, we could stop both of these, or either of these, really. This already has a blight, though, which makes it feel comparatively better. But it also has... There's no good shadows. We're playing shadows for elements. I think pushing these both out, because it has the blight and this one doesn't have the blight, seems very reasonable. Okay, we get remove an explorer from a land with Dahan. So we're kind of already good. Okay, Ravage. And we are going to go Blighted Island. Replace a town with a city or replace an explorer. I mean, cool. And we have to do this, what, 4 times on each board? So, explore, explore, city. And I'm doing it this way to minimize the amount of cities that we add because we are going to want to kind of get a terror level 3 victory. Here, though, I don't mind popping this up to a city because now that's extra fear that will die in the Ravage. But let's do the Explorers. Okay. Not the worst Blight card, all things considered. And then let's push these into here. Nothing builds at all. And we get a coast. Oh. The coastal card is so good for us because that means that these jungles are just going to immediately clean themselves up, so there's less for us to deal with. Shadows of the Burning Forest is 2 fear, and we can push an explorer or town out of a land that is a mountain or jungle. We don't have any presence in a coastal land that is a mountain or jungle, so I think we're just using this for fear. That said, Dahan movement, we kind of love that. We do eventually want to get a bunch of Dahan into both of the coastal 2 lands, which are going to need big defense. But we want this Dahan to stay there. Maybe the answer is to just pull these 3 in, and then we can get them over here next turn. And then here, I think we're just doing this for fear. Cool. And we're in a really strong position because we don't have to deal with any of the builds or any of the ravages, so we can just focus on the builds. So let's reclaim on eyes. We're going to gain a power card. We could probably gain a major right now, but we don't have as many cards as I would like, so I'm going to gain a minor first, and then maybe next time we'll G3 for a major. Call to Guard defense is very good on us. Elemental Boon, I actually kind of like because we are both moon and wind spirits, so there's some good overlap there. I'm sort of tentatively thinking about this. Scour the land. We have a healthy amount of blight on the board, and there's no good places that could do this, except for this 7. I don't mind just taking a blight to fully clean this out, which creates a very enviable pocket. And then also maybe into this 3. Scour the Land is looking very good. Sunset's Fire is a little bit expensive for what we want to do. We have a good amount of energy, but it's just not that great. And Cult of Guard is a very strong card, but we work well with defense. But honestly, it's not. There's no like immediate use that I see. Where to Scour the Land, we can just immediately clear out this full 7. Shadows is also going to reclaim. Fire in the Sky, pretty good. 2 elements. Hazard Spread, 2 elements, and it doesn't cost anything. Territorial Strife, we could use that to like pop a strife into this mountains. I don't hate any of these. I like Fire in the Sky the best, though. Okay. And we want to hit our left innate so that we can gather an explorer out of here so that we don't have to think about it and we can just focus in on this. So let's look at favors called do, so we can get a bunch of Dahan into here for the counterattack. Because we've got 4 Dahan will do 8 damage. That clears everything except the Explorer. That's really nice. And then we just need Moon Fire in order to hit the left innate. Mantle of Dread could immediately solve this land. Well, this land probably gets... No, Mantle of Dread doesn't actually really solve much because of where the Shadow's presence is, though it could be used on eyes, so it could solve this land. I like that, and it gives us some good innates. Next turn we play Concealing Shadows, and then as long as we play an air card with it, and we do have 3 card plays now. So we could do, let's see, a moon and a fire puts us in a very strong position to get a little bit of extra fear. Let's see. Moon and fire. The only one of those we have costs us more energy. I think we don't want to do Concealing Shadows, and we don't want to do Land of Haunts. So maybe instead of favors called do, we do something like Crops Wither and Fade, and then We really are there any zero cost cards that we rejected that could be good? Hazard Spread, uh, looking kind of nice instead of Fire in the Sky. Just so that we have more zero cost so that we can get through this turn. Next turn we'll go up to 3 energy, but we don't have any good options other than Land of Haunts and Embers, which just doesn't feel good at the moment. Though, we could go up to Darkness Swallows the Unwary, and then use that to start cleaning this. That's kind of nice. We do want a Favors Called Due, though. So we would need, if we give all 3 Shadows elements, we get the full innate. That's kind of good. I like that. So let's look at, oh, but we didn't decide to take the Elemental Boon. I don't know. I don't hate these 3 cards, even if we don't end up hitting the bottom threshold. So then the Eyes side of things, we don't need to play any of our defend cards. Mysterious Abductions cleanly solves this land. Scour the Land is good. And then I think we just want to play something that's like a little off element. And none of our cards are off element, so it doesn't really matter. I do like Dahan Gathering, though, just as a way to set up our big counterattacks here. Okay. Mysterious Abductions solves that. This is just Fear and Gathering in a Dahan. Scour the Land we can do fast. I kind of like doing it fast. That way we have the pocket for the Explore. And it gets us a good amount of fear. Here, we can kill both of these Explorers. And then this is any fear we would let us pull out of this. So, and we know that we're going to use Favors Called Due, which will get us 3 fear. I don't necessarily know that we want to push out of here. I think that it's fine, though, to pop there. And Land of Haunts and Embers, I think we were just playing because it's 0 and full elements. So I actually don't think that we want to trigger this because there's nothing that will, yeah. At this point, it would just be like add a blight for 2 fear, which is sometimes a good trade, but I think we're generating enough fear that I'm not super worried. Like that it isn't like that pushes us to a new breakpoint where we would go up to Terror level 3 with it or something. Towns do plus, oh no. On each board with a city, add a blight to a land with a city, and you can prevent that by destroying presence. Fine to do it there. Here, we know this is going to blight, so let's instead destroy 2 presence, and let's pop these 2. Each beast destroys an explorer. Cool. And then add a Dahan to a jungle or wetland with Dahan. Over here, we'll add to there, and then over here, we'll add here. And so we only have 2 lands that are building now, which feels good. Remove an explorer town from an inland land. Is there... I don't think there's any way we can use this to pocket. So I like putting both of these here because it has blight, whereas this one doesn't have blight. Add a strike to a town. Invaders have -1 health. This might just make our defense a little bit easier next turn. And we get mountains and jungles. And we have preserved 1 land with a pocket, which feels good. Mantle of Dread. Well, it's Favors Called Due is the easy one. Great. And then Whispered Guidance. I do think we want to pull into here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we want to use to pull all of those in. And then Mantle of Dread pushes an explorer or town out of a land with presence. So this land will full clear. So we're not super worried about that. This land is going to be our next problem land. This one we also sort of potentially worry about, but it doesn't have anything that we can push. So I think we're pushing out of this. So let's Mantle of Dread here, and this will stop a city from being built. Okay. And eyes can go up to 3 energy or 4 card plays. We are very energy rich, so I think we want to go up to 4 card plays. We will reclaim on, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So we'll reclaim on 2, a total of 5 energy. For me, that's fine. We need a presence here, and then let's create a sacred site there. And we have the 3rd level of the innate, that we don't really need it. Actually, the 3rd level of the innate defends for 6. That full solves this land. We're cooking. Okay. We are going to go up to 3 energy and 3 card plays this turn. So with 3 energy, we can play any cards that we have. So let's grab a minor. Mesmerized Tranquility is potentially strong. That easily solves an Explorer Town land, and we're going to have a bunch of those in different places on the board. Disease ads are good. Strong Constant Currents has no immediate use because of the lands that are currently up. Spur On is a strong effect, but Eyes is already at 4 card plays. It is the best elements, though. I think Mez with the Isolate feels good. I think we can get some good value on that. And so, unless we think that we can hit the 2nd level of this innate, which Spur On would not let us do, because it would need to be a moon card, and none of these had any moon on them. Okay. Let's see. We do want to, at minimum, hit the 1st level of the innate, though. And we don't have any Moonfire, so this doesn't matter. An Airfire, though, that is quite good. Because then we're getting some fear. We could fear push with Coils of Foreboding Dread. And we could potentially use that to push out of here. So, grab that, and then Fire in the Sky here. We can then push the town. If it goes here, it doesn't die in the Ravage, so let's just push it into there. Concealing Shadows, we no longer have good targeting for this, but we're playing it for elements anyway. Gather and Explore into there. So now these 3 are solved. And then here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A single Explorer is going to live out of this, which to me feels fine. And then Mischief and Sabotage, no, because when we defend into this, we get the extra Dahan in, so these will all die. And then defend 8 here, pulling in the Dahan. Great. Sacred Site's under threat. We have 1, 2, 3 fire, and we only need 2 uses of this, actually. So let's repulse them ourselves. No, wait. What's the... We're guarding them ourselves for well or ill. We've paid 3 energy. I think I'm fine just popping 2 energy and then popping 1 energy. Great. Here we do 2 damage. We kill that town. And then there we kill that town. Beast generates fear if invaders are present and moves to an adjacent land if they're not. So let's push this up to here. We'll push this into there, and we'll push this into there. That gets us 2 fear cards and a minor power for Eyes. Thriving Choke Fungus is on element. Drought, I don't think we have enough sun to use effectively. Sucking Ooze gets us some fear. I like Thriving Choke Fungus. I'm not sure we're going to play it, but defend 6 in coastal lands, skip build actions in coastal lands that would add a city. Remove an explorer town from a land matching a ravage card. We're just going to use this on explorers because the towns are all going to die. Okay. And now we just have 3 lands that are building. Okay. Crops wither and fade we can use to replace a town with an explorer or a city with a town. We can only use this in lands that we have presence, so the best use is going to be here. This will stop a city build next turn. We are getting 5 fear away from just needing to kill all the cities to win, which we can do just with these 2 alone, I think. So we can push explorers and towns. Let's right out of the way. I think push. That just like is a land we no longer have to think about now. And then at 0 range, we can push explorer town. We could use this here to stop that from building. But I think the better use is going to be here so that we have to defend less there. And let's push the explorer can go here, and the town, none of these are good options actually, unfortunately. I think it can go here. Okay, and we need 1 fear and to kill both of these cities in the fast phase. We can get... we're only on 3 card plays, so we can't do the 3 damage innate that Shadows has. But let's look at eyes. I think we're reclaiming. Dark and Tangled Woods, great elements, great fear, everything about this I love. And we're going to go Boon of Watchful Guarding, Dark and Tangled Woods. Let's like pop some of our tri-element cards. So now we're hitting the full innate for 5 fear. We got to defend 12. Between these, that's going to solve both of these lands. For those 2 defending, that's solved. Dark and Tangled Woods, we can defend. We could like defend here, pulling in a Dahan so that it dies in the Ravage. And if we can get a second Dahan into here, the city will die in the counterattack. So maybe we actually just Dark and Tangled here, so there's 2 defense being used and we can pull in 2 towns. That seems good. Let's reclaim and Shadows. We're at 3 energy and 3 fear. That's great. Entrancing Apparitions can definitely be used to stop some builds, which is good. I mean, it doesn't actually progress our win condition, but it doesn't matter too much. And we're just popping these because they give us good elements. Great. So Boon of Watchful Guarding, here, pull in a Dahan. Dark and Tangled Woods, here, pull in a Dahan. Mischief and Sabotage, don't pull in a Dahan. Now both of those cities will die in the Ravage. And then I think this is the only land that's building a city. So we're probably just winning in the Ravage, but just in case we don't, we can destroy 2 explorers using this. So let's 1, 2. And entrancing apparitions into any land that's ravaging that has Dahan that we're in range of, which we don't really actually have. But we can still use it to gather 2 Dahan into, or 2 explorers into non-building lands. Which, yeah, it doesn't really do anything. Let's just use this to defend against edge cases. And then we get a fear push from that. Great. And then we are at most, I think, taking 2 blight from the Ravage. So we can just use this straight up for fear, just for fun. Okay. In each land with 2 or more towns, push 1 town to a land without towns. Except we're a blighted island. Add a blight to a land with city and no blight. Cool. We do not appear to have those. Wait. Here, that should have... Yeah, after the Ravage step, add a Blight to a land with cities. Great. That's fine. Dahan only do 1 damage. No! Absolutely devastating. Remove up to 3 health worth of invaders from a land without a city. So this stops the city from being built. And then... I guess... Let's see. This land is only going to have a single thing building. I think it's fine to just pop this Explorer so it doesn't build. Choose a different land and each gather up to 2, 1 damage per Dahan. We're saved. Okay. I think Amorphous Shadows may be the most fun version of Shadows. That's my hot take for this game. Darkfire is the one that I traditionally play most of. I really like Darkfire. It's certainly the strongest. I think Amorphous might be more fun than any of them. I really liked the push minigame that you get, where if you do fear, you can start pushing things. I bet there were some very cool lines that I didn't even notice that could have been done with this. This is a spirit that I'm going to be revisiting in the past. Again, the Spirit Island Discord, Spirits of Creation, or Second Wave is the name of the Discord. After the Second Wave campaign, it's the second version of the Spirit Island Discord. It's the 5-year anniversary, so everyone is playing different spirit combos. We're trying to get every single combination of spirits and aspects into a game over the course of the month of May for the anniversary. There's a giant spreadsheet tracking it. I'm going to be playing a couple games just because, you know, it's a fun new task. And I really am glad that it forced me to play Foreboding. I've played this before, but like it never really vibed for me. And here I felt like I got a lot of fun use out of this right innate that pushes things with fear. I think it's a neat mechanic. It's kind of like the Bringer card that lets you defend per fear, but instead like a control-y version of it. I would love to play this again and definitely will. Thanks to all for watching. I hope you enjoyed.